Bloodbath at the House of Death. It took a lot of guts to make this movie.
Let's talk about your first film, Bloodbath and the House of Death. I have read a few crits that weren't all that generous.
It passed almost completely without notice. But the English have no class, as you know.
I think it's still as funny today as it was back in 1984.
I think people will enjoy it more now on video than they did going to see it on screen because of the history of the legend of Kenny.
Why are you speaking in that German accent?
I am not speaking in this German accent!
It still makes me roll with laughter, and I think it's very funny. My goodness, it was a cheap budget movie, and it was done by flying by the seat of your pants stuff, and it was brilliant the way Cameron put it together.
Mein Strength!
How would or how could you describe the Kenny Everett brand of entertainment?
Short jokes, done fast, so you don't notice that they're not particularly funny.
Oh, they are.
And then off. Collect the check and run.
Got a cough? Got a bad cough? How would you like there to be on the market something that'll remove your cough and send it far away? Well, there is. It's new, improved far cough. Far cough? Yes, far cough. I didn't mean you.
He was sort of zany, and before everyone knew what zany was, and off the wall and politically incorrect. And he was a delight.
And now, more freeze-frame fun. Great, wasn't it?
I, at the time, wanted to get into the entertainment field. I had money to invest, and I wanted to do something different from the property world, which is what I'd been involved with. And there was Ray Cameron, and he wanted to branch out with Kenny and produce a video of Kenny's jokes and performances in character.
Harry, what are those for?
Those four?
He wanted some money to do it, so I put up some money, and we made an introductory video called Kenny Everett Naughty Joke Box. He did the intros and the outros.
Hello, and welcome to the Naughty Joke Box. I bet you bought this video cassette because you wanted to hear a lot of four-letter words and filth and jokes with rude ends and rude beginnings and middles too. Stop doing that while I'm talking to you. Oh, strike up that damn band, will you?
It's the Kenny Everett Naughty Joke Box!
The actual performances were comedians on stage doing stand-up comedy.
Which reminds me of the incident when I said to my wife, when you reach a climax, why didn't you ever say anything? She said, you're never there.
A little bit too blue for BBC, but still saleable in W.H. Smith. That was the key to it.
We're ready to whip your brains to cream with jokes that Lord Thames and the Bee wouldn't let us do. But don't worry, Mum, we won't go too far, because there's a representative from the International Video Censorship Committee in attendance.
We then decided that we'd do one which was more akin to Kenny's TV shows, with his typical characters, Sid Snot and Cupid Stunt and all the others that we know so well.
It's sort of irreverent, zany type of humour, isn't it? That has, in fact, got you into trouble on a few occasions in the past.
Mostly hot gossip got us into the trouble.
What sort of trouble exactly?
Well, they were the first people that went on to the BBC and took all their clothes off. I mean, most of them kept the wobbly bits in, but most of the other stuff, the hot, steamy, greasy flesh bits, they were all exposed. And some people, like Mary Whitehouse, who'd never seen a naked body before, even at home.
Even at home?
Yes. She got up on her high horse and tried to make all sorts of fuss about it, but the English people just said, oh, go away, Mary, it's nice, it's fun.
Is it in?
Yes.
Does it hurt?
No, it feels beautiful.
Would Madam care to try the other one on?
Oh, yes, please.
Kenny and Ray, you know, they were both anarchic and they both did what they wanted. And I think one of the things they liked about making a film is that there was no one to say, you can't do that. Kenny was, for want of a very expression, very modern and avant-garde. And Ray, away from Kenny, he told jokes. His humour was old-fashioned and his jokes were old-fashioned. You know, he was an old-time stand-up compere comic, which were his roots. But he really recognised Kenny for the, you know, for the genius he was, and would allow Kenny to lead in terms of where they were going.
We are on a secret government mission with other scientists to investigate this bizarre phenomenon. It's as simple as that.
So the next step was a film, and that's what Kenny wanted to do, that's what Ray wanted to do, so we did it.
This is the road to Headstone Manor.
We'll keep an eye out. We'll see another sign.
A lonely road to a place where nothing seems to happen.
We're looking for a place called Headstone Manor.
Cameron and Barry had been writing Kenny's stuff for years, for the BBC TV shows, the ITV TV shows, and Kenny wanted to do a film, so they obviously were the people who were going to write it. My involvement, I was trying to get jokes into it because I was doing the typing most of the time when Cameron was relaying what they were going to actually put in there. And I tried to slip in some jokes here and there, but it didn't work. No, it was so. It's none of it's my responsibility. It's all down to Cameron and Barry.
Barry Cryer is one of the great comic geniuses that England has ever produced. He's the fastest, quickest, wittiest man I've ever met.
Colin, get this shot out of it.
He's just an absolute national treasure.
Really, I wasn't too involved in the real executive production. That was down to Lawrence Myers.
I was with the film from beginning to end. I was executive producer because I sorted out the finances, but I did more. I was on the set a lot, and Ray would talk to me a lot about, not so much about creative things, he spoke to Kenny about those, but practical things and budgets and schedules. And John was the line producer, who was a very good line producer. It was a very tight budget, it was a very tight shoot.
We had a budget of £860,000.
It wasn't a very big budget.
And we brought the film in under budget, just.
Because I knew, you know, I just knew that they were going to get into trouble.
The starting point was a bit of a nightmare.
The money had dropped out, as it always does.
I suppose it was about the money going into escrow and getting the money together at the right time. We had some backers who were going to be putting up the money, and at the last moment we found they didn't have any.
A low-budget film is always off at least 3 times, you know, the week before you're due to shoot, and often halfway through. But somehow miraculously it gets back on.
So I had to find a lot of money in a hurry in order to secure the actors. I think I had a weekend to find something like £250,000.
£250,000, and it disappeared the weekend before, and it was total panic. And there was no way I was going to be able to find it through conventional sources quickly. It would have taken forever. And there was no completion bond in place, which you would inevitably need if you were getting finances from any of the traditional sources.
We managed it, and on the Monday morning we started shooting. Now, that weekend Kenny had been to the Young Conservatives conference, a very famous speech he made where he stood up and said, "Bomb the Russians!" to a resounding applause and standing ovation. Now, if we'd released the film that day instead of started filming it, we would have made a fortune, I'm quite sure. But then, them's the breaks.
It wasn't difficult in as much as it was all very contained on Stuart's estate.
There were 2 places we actually filmed. Leggett's Park was my family home, and that's where most of the shooting was done. We were on a 188-acre farm in the middle of the Hertfordshire Greenbelt, And yeah, it was a great place for everything to happen.
So it was all very cosy, it was all very jolly, and it was a lot of fun.
My barn was used to build all the sets.
We built little sets around the farm when it was needed.
My house was used for a lot of the shots, driveway, and my billiard room was turned into the pub. It was just wonderful to have all these things going on. There's a scene where the clones are raised up out of the earth in the middle of the forest, and I dug the hole that they came out of with the back actor on my David Brown tractor. So. But the House of Death itself was actually a place called Norththorpe Place, which was next door to us, which was empty at the time. It's a wonderful, gaunt building that it's been pulled down now, and it's now a secure housing unit for rich people.
So it was a tight shoot, and it was all very contained. You know, there was no long travelling hours to location, because the location was either at the farm or at the nearby house.
Okay, the rest of you follow me.
I enjoyed Kenny's company. He was a nice man. He was quiet when he was not on screen, but if you put him in front of a load of people he didn't know, then he'd get outrageous.
Thank you very much. I feel much better now.
He was one of the nicest people in the world, and one of the most fun people to be with.
Join our team at the House of Death. You'll meet with a few surprises.
And I really look forward to working with you all.
What was it like working with Pamela Stephenson and Vincent Price in the movie?
Pamela was, she was a bit snooty, I thought.
Bullshit.
She wasn't fun. She was very professional. She did her job. I don't know if she sensed it wasn't going to be the greatest film in the world.
Far be it from me to tear anybody apart.
I don't understand. Have I said something wrong?
Snooty.
Snooty would do it, yeah.
I had no idea.
You know, she sort of kept herself to herself and wasn't, for want of a better expression, part of the gang.
After every shot, she'd rush off. She wouldn't mix with the rest of us. You know, we were all having tea with Vincent and everybody, and she'd just go, end of take, right. But I did find out later, I found out that she was pregnant.
I didn't know that. But I mean, she was perfectly professional and perfectly nice.
And she wasn't avoiding us, she was just running out to throw up. She just got pregnant to Billy Connolly.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I
think because everybody else had been involved in the Kenny Everett television series, they were like a unit who had lots of shared experience. And Pamela wasn't.
What I remember about Pamela was that she used to sit in the corner concentrating extremely hard on practicing what she was going to do. We were all quite surprised when she came up with the lisp.
This is stupid.
That's not stupid at all.
That wasn't scripted, but a strange thing to do.
You think it is stupid?
I was excited that Vincent Price was in it because he's Vincent Price.
A sinister man. The part was made for him. I don't know whether it was written for him, but it was certainly made for him. And I don't think there was ever any question that he was the guy who was going to do it. Just a casting that went the way we wanted it to go.
He was a star. He was a Hollywood star.
Bow thy knee if you wish to even speak in my presence.
All good comedy is acted seriously, and horror spoofs, all good horror spoofs, are acted seriously.
Oh, piss off!
Piss off.
But he clearly enjoyed it, and he was happy to send himself up.
And you tell me to piss off? You piss off.
He was an absolutely gorgeous man. I loved spending the time I did chatting to him. And he's into cooking, and he loved to share things, and he was a good, honest guy.
No deep, dark secrets, then?
Cleo had worked, of course, in the show, and was a lot of fun.
I suppose a fork's out of the question.
Not necessarily, but let's have dinner first.
She played the part of the dumb broad really well. And I don't believe for a moment she really was a dumb broad. She was a very soft character, and I liked her a lot.
She adored Kenny, and Kenny adored her. They had a really, really close friendship. They were very great mates.
Well, that's enough about me anyway.
Low budget film like Bloodbath, you have no time to do anything. You just take the shot, get the shot, put it in the can, move on to the next one, move on to the next one. And at the end of it, you see what you've got and you make the best of it.
Post-production took place in my garage.
We certainly used his garaging for editing suites, which was very convenient.
We did lay a carpet in the garage so that everyone would be nice and comfortable. It was quite a long, deep garage. Yeah, all the equipment was hired in, and the chief editor, Brian, he was great fun to work with. We had a lot of laughs cutting the bits and pieces together. Yeah, my favourite moment was the shot walking down the corridor with the cello raising the temperature at the end of the corridor.
Do you mind? I'm terribly sorry.
We premiered the film in Shaftesbury Avenue, the Odeon, and I think probably the audience was a fairly young audience, and it was pretty full, and everyone absolutely roared with laughter. They thought it was extremely funny, just the sort of reaction we wanted. So it was very disappointing that it didn't have a very long run in the UK.
Nobody wanted to go and see it. I mean, it got terrible reviews.
The Daily Mail voted it the worst film of 1984.
Worst film of the year. Well done, me. I did it again. I had a few of those.
But I think that's a little bit unfair.
But we put it out on general release, and it failed. And I'm now remembering very clearly one of the huge problems. It had an 18 certificate, and that was one of the problems, because it was, kids would have liked to go and see it.
Did you? Oh my God, did you say to take away?
I think part of the problem might have been that in the UK, that Kenny wasn't playing any of his well-known characters, and some people might have been disappointed by that.
That's right. How did you know?
A film like Bloodbath, if any film didn't do well, you were dropped after 1 week, because there was a line of films waiting to go in. Today, it would have started off in screen 1, and if a few people came to see it, it could have been moved to screen 2. I gave up the film business with my immaculate, perfect timing about a year before multi-screens. And I gave it up because it was becoming increasingly difficult for independents to get screen time. And we all went out of business. GTO, Brent Walker, all the independent film companies.
Oh, I wouldn't worry. We'll be all right.
I loved it. I could see why some people perhaps would be critical of how it ended up.
It'll go down much better in Australia.
You think so?
It better.
It was very successful in Australia.
I just remember it was hit in Australia.
Madcap British comedian Kenny Everett's in Australia. He's here to promote a film with a title guaranteed to attract horror movie fans, Bloodbath at the House of Death. And Kenny spoke with Joan McGuinness.
Hello, Kenny. Nice to meet you.
Hello, darling.
Oh, my God. What's that? Is that
It's a rubber hand.
a Dr. Lucas Mandeville hand?
Isn't it fab?
Oh,
But
no,
it feels
it's
for a
awful.
while, thing, darling.
It does. Till it feels all sweaty and... Take it off. Take it off. It's terrible.
Here.
Oh, boy, I love his humour. That's comedian Kenny Everett.
The making of it was happy, because they were all fun people. The unhappy part was that Stuart lost all his money. I lost money as a distributor.
And it was also disappointing that it didn't actually make TV. And I understand that the reason for that was that I forget which way round it was, but either the ITV film buyer wouldn't buy it because Kenny was then on the BBC, or vice versa. And the BBC guy, who was the film buyer, just didn't like Kenny's stuff, so didn't buy it. we were stuffed for UK TV, which caused us a lot of problems financially, I think. Yeah, that made a big difference.
But I don't regret doing it. I mean, one doesn't regret doing. You try things and they fail.
There are some disappointments in there, disappointments that really the movie didn't get out and didn't get aired to people who I think would have found it funny. But I have no regrets. None at all. It was a wonderful experience.
And all because they laughed at me.
If I was to be asked if I would do it again, I would. Even if I knew I was going to lose a load of money, I'd still do it. Yeah, that perhaps says something about me.
They never understood.
I suppose I'll never see him again.
The traditional image of a comic is that behind all this giggle and laugh that you...
There's a tragic figure.
There's someone who's not quite so happy. What are you sort of like this all the time?
No, I'm happier than this normally.
Oh.
Because the lights are killing me.
Oh, do you want to stop now?
Yeah, let's stop. Let's go and have a cup of tea.
All right, let's go. Let's come and have a cup of tea.